Hello, my name is Frédéric Harper, Fred. Super excited to be here. I'm a principal developer advocate at Construct. What does that mean? My job is to give love to developers. So if you're a developer, you're in the right place. I'm the friendly, public, approachable, friendly, technical face of the company. So this is basically what I do. And I'm really happy to talk about a pet peeve of mine today, which is developer documentations. And really trying to show you that dev documentation is your secret weapon. During the talk, feel free to take pictures of the slides, of my beautiful face, share things that I say that you agree, disagree. On Twitter, yes, I refuse to call this X. On Twitter, I'm F Harper on Twitter. Please feel free, we can connect. We can also connect on LinkedIn. But anyway, we only have 25 minutes to talk about developer documentation. I've gave that talk before. I only had 55 minutes, and I still had that slide. I was like, yeah, we only have an hour. Like, there's so many things I want to say about developer documentation. So I'm going to try to go fast. I have two goals today with that talk. First one is trying to, as quickly as possible, convince you that developer documentation is important. The second goal, trying to give you some high-level tips and tricks about creating great experience when it comes to developer documentation, so you can go back at work, and if you're responsible for the doc, if you need to write doc, even if you don't like it, you're going to have some tricks to create great developer documentation. I will do something that I never do during my talk, is not taking questions during the talks, just because we have like limited time. But I will be outside after my talks if you have any question. But also, you can go, if you want to ask question on fred.dev/MAA, ask me anything. It's anonymous too. So if you want to be mean about the speaker, that's a right place to do that. So, and you can always contact me on Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm going to be here for the rest of the conference too. We have a booth, Construct. I'm going to be there most of the time also. So if you have any question about the talk, about documentation, about cats, please let me know. About my beautiful French Quebecois accent, I'm going to be there to talk about those. Let's start with a quote. Every good conference talk should start with a quote. Your developer's documentation is an integral part of your product. One cannot exist without the other. Who said that? An amazing person, I'm sure. Oh, Frédéric Harper. Yeah, I'm quoting myself. The most important part in that quote is one cannot exist without the other. Why is that? There's many benefits about great documentation. How many of you think you have a great product or a great service? Oh, that bad? You don't believe in what you do, huh? Okay, so I'm not going to use the product of the people on the side of the room. The people on that side think you have a great product. I'm pretty sure it's true. I'm pretty sure everybody has a great product. Yeah, you may have bugs, you may have issues, but you usually have a great product. If I don't know how to use it, you have a shitty product in the end. I don't know how to use your product. I'm not going to use it. So when your users, when developers want to use your product, and they go check the documentation, if you have documentation, and it's not working, it's not up to date, doesn't have the right information, the example did not work, I'm not going to become a user. Or if I'm a user, I mean, I've become a paid customer. And if I'm a paid customer, maybe I'm using the first tier of the pro feature you have, and maybe there is advantages for me to move to the second tier, the second paid tier. Maybe I won't do it because I don't know about the features, because I don't know what I'm missing. I don't know how to use things. So a great documentation should be tied to your product. Sarah said it. She's a real person. Sarah said it on Twitter. Some documentation is so bad, it almost puts me off wanting to use whatever it is I'm looking for. Let's focus on that first part. How many people had that experience before? Yeah, if you don't raise your hands, you are a bunch of liars. We all had that issue. We all tried a product at some point and the documentation was shit. It was bad. And the second part is true. Sometimes, but sometimes, I can just move on to another thing. Work decided you use that project, that system, that application, you have to use it, you're stuck with bad documentation. In many cases, I can just go away. I can just choose another product. And I don't know for you, I do that all the time. My team knows it. I'm the one who used the most application on my laptop for everything and anything. So every like 2-3 weeks, I'm like, I have a new need of something that could help me to do my job. And the thing though, as much as you think that your product is unique, it is not. Someone, somewhere, yeah, it's true even for us. Someone, somewhere, my CEO and CTO look at me like, yeah, no, we're unique. It's true for everyone. Someone, somewhere, is building the same thing. Maybe not exactly the same thing, but good enough that I have a choice as a user. Customers that are not happy are the most vocal. So think about that. Having great documentation can save you bad reviews, can save you people like me that goes on Twitter and complains about shit. Your product's not good. We are the most vocal when we're not happy. So great documentation can help you, but think about that. If you have customer support, technical support, if I can find the information in the docs, I won't contact customer support, I won't contact technical support. That will lower down the number of support requests you have to do. And if you do it well, that can also help other teams within your company. Let's say I have a question, we have a Slack community, I have a question. It's either the person didn't look at the docs was not clear, or it was missing from the docs. If it's one of the last two, what I'm going to do after, I'm going to go back to the docs, update the docs so it's clearer, or I have the missing piece that the user didn't find. What happened next time? The user is going to be able to find the information in the docs, or customer support will get less call. Or let me think about Bill, who's doing business development. Bill, yeah. Raise yourself. You're the star of the show now. No, it's like, so Bill is a new colleague, and he's doing business development. So I told Bill when he joined, I was like, you know what? Every time a customer, a potential customer, has a question that you cannot send what I call the one link to rule them all, the docs. You cannot point them to the docs or a video. Let me know. I'm going to create that content, or I'm going to update the docs. So next time, you don't have to explain everything again. You can just send that link. So in the end, what's going to happen? Oh, before that, my friend Brian. I am in the fullest of full moods. If you don't know Brian, Brian is the nicest person ever. He is never in that mood. So beware. I have attempted to get local versions of 3 open source learning management systems running locally by following their docs, and they all failed. Every single one. Okay, didn't put a dot between each word, but I thought it was more dramatic to say it like that. So every single one. Bad documentation wastes so much time. And that is true for you, for your users, for other people in the company. So in the end, great documentation should save you money if it's done well. And on top of that, it's even useful for you internally. I don't know if I'm just stupid, but sometimes I write the doc, and the guy's like, yeah, thank you, get out of my room. So I'm like, hey, sometimes I write the doc, and like a month after, I'm like, how can I do that with our platform? So I go back to my own docs, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's like this. So even internally, it can be helpful to have great documentation. With that said, let me share you a couple of tips and tricks about how to write great documentation. That's going to go fast. First thing first, if you don't have a search feature in your doc, sorry, Kai, get out of that room right away. Stop listening to my talks because any other tips are not good for you. Add a search function to your docs. No, that was a joke. You can stay. There's an opportunity and free things out there that you can use, like TypeSense. We use this at KubeFirst, at Construct, and it's working well. Add a search functionality, because sometimes the users know precisely what they're looking for, but they don't know where in your docs. So search option, always there, please. You know nothing, Jon Snow. I don't know how to say that politely, but think about your users as stupid people. Not in the bad way. They just know nothing about your product. So the more information to put, the more details you put, that's going to be helpful. And if I'm an expert, if I already know your product, I'm going to skip to the next section. It's fine. Nobody's going to die. But if you don't have enough information that is useful for your users, it's not going to work. The architecture of your doc is really important too. Let me give you an example of a really nice documentation. Don't know who wrote this, but it's pretty good. This is the documentation for KubeFirst, whatever product. And we have a page specific for Civo support. So we support multiple cloud. This is the overview of Civo. And let's look at that page. It may seem overwhelming at first, but there is all information and all ways for users to find the proper information. Obviously, there's the search option here. That one's nice, because I wouldn't be in that talk if I didn't have the search option in my demo. On the top, I have all the primary pieces of my product, all the clouds that we support. So if you say like, hey, I want to use Civo, fine. If you say I want to use AWS, I can click on it, and I'm going to go on the proper documentation for what I want to use. On the left, I got all my section in my documentation. And the first one is probably the most important. It's the quick start. How can I use your product? Even if it's not complicated, take the user by the end. This is the first impression they're going to have about your product. If you miss that part, again, when people say bad documentation, it's usually because they cannot even start to use your product because something fails or they don't have the proper step to understand how to do it. So we have that section where we show different ways to install on Civo and have crucial information that I think you should need right from the start. What are the repositories we're creating for you? What is that cluster management thing UI that you're talking about? And if I go in details on that page, it seems to have a lot of things in it. I put a lot of details. So if you don't know what to do, it's there. But in the end, there's only 4 things. I need you to install the CLI. I need you to install Docker Desktop. I need you to create an API key for Civo and one for GitHub. I don't assume that you know those things, but I don't write you how to install Homebrew. Hello. No, I only have 25 minutes. I need to stop that. Let's say you don't know how to use Homebrew. I won't assume that you know it, even if it's the most popular package manager on macOS. I'm going to point to the Homebrew documentation. I'm not going to write that docs. It's not my product, but I want to help you. I don't want you to lose time looking for something that you can find elsewhere easily, that I can point to you easily. So that's the getting started page. Second section, more advanced topic. The things that you should probably know, but it doesn't matter right away. But if you want more information, it's there. So I have my advanced section that we call Explore, where I have details information about every part or most of the part of my product. And at the end, I have like everything else that is interesting or not, which I should probably move GitHub's catalog higher because it's an important part of our project. You can see to the right here, I also have a table of content. This one is not a good example because I don't have a lot of content in that page. But if you go in the more advanced pages, I have a lot of section. Again, sometimes the users know what they want or what they're looking for. They're going to use the search option. Sometimes they're like, hey, not quite sure. Having this section easily identified outside, super helpful. Last thing I want to talk, versioning. It's not really about the architecture per se. There's nothing more frustrating than I'm using a older version of your software, and the doc was updated only for the newer version, and there is like flags that do not exist for the CLI, or like the menu move in the interface, and I cannot find it because like even if it's in my face, I'm looking where you told me to look from in the documentation. So it's good to always have your documentation up to date. That's a new word. Up to date. But try to keep older version of docs for product that you still support, for version that you still support. In a perfect world, everybody would use the latest version. Not going to happen. If it's working on my machine, I'm going to keep it. If it's working, if it does what I want, and I don't need to upgrade, I may not upgrade because like it's cycle that I could spend on doing other stuff. So always try to keep your documentation updated, but also keep older version if possible. Text is one thing. Images is another thing. Use great quality screenshot, GIF, animated GIF, pictures if you want, even videos. There's nothing more annoying than bad quality images in a docs. For me, I don't know if it's just me, it kind of ruined the experience. Also, what I would suggest, and that's a personal choice, use the image as an addition to your doc, not being your docs. Meaning that if I load the docs and no images load at all, and not even alt text, I can still use your product. So that's something that I started to do in the time where like internet was really bad everywhere and like it was painful for so many people. We're not really doing responsive things. And I kept that, and I think it's a good way of doing things. So had this like as an addition, a visual cue, something that can help you to manage the interface, to really understand what you're doing, but like write it down first. Also, always to try to make things accessible for people that are visual impaired. It's really important. It's not my expertise, but it's a pet peeve of mine. Please make things accessible. Documentation is not the time to show you're proficient in English. Like, try to keep a lower vocabulary, not because people are stupid. It's just because now it's not the time for me to look for a definition of words in the docs when what I want to understand is how to use your product. And not everybody has English as a first language. I don't. French is my first language. English is my second. Even if I consider myself bilingual, I don't know all the words. Even people that have English as a first language don't know all the words. So yes, you're a good writer. You know a lot of beautiful words. Don't use them all. Try to keep it simple, stupid. There's even tools out there that really helps you to do that. I really love the Hemingway editor. It helps you to keep it between like grade 6 or 7. This is what they suggest. And I felt that like it's a pretty good thing that I tried to do. Not always possible, but try to do it. Test your doc. Write your doc, update your doc. After that, be a new user to your product. When I had a section, what I do? I uninstalled the CLI, Kubefirst CLI. I reinstall with the brew common to be sure if everything is good. I go through all the steps as a new user. Because sometimes, I love my product team, but sometimes they may change stuff that I don't know about. And the documentation is not updated. Sometimes something that works and that everybody thinks, yeah, they're looking at me like you're dead, Fred. They're in the room and like, yeah, okay, I'm sweating now. But sometimes things should work, and nobody noticed that they were not working. So also you become a tester for your product. You become user 0, the first user. Test the code too. Test everything and read it line by line. And even better, if you have someone who didn't code that part of the product, didn't work in that project, have that person review it to see if they understand, because it's easier for us when we're part of the building process. It's easier for the product team, the engineers, to say like, yeah, that makes sense. But they have knowledge that new users may not have. So it may make sense for them, it may not make sense for new users. Keep your docs updated. That's it. Super simple. Is it something? Do you want me to clarify that point? There is nothing more frustrating than docs that are not updated, because I think I'm going somewhere and bang, no, it's not working. And now, what is the problem? Is it me? Is it the computer? Is it the product? Is it just the docs that does not let me know how to do things properly? Brian again, sorry, he's a nice guy. He's just really vocal about shitty docs because it's his job too. And Brian was saying, docs get out of date with the code base because product does not integrate the docs into the release schedule. What the fuck are we talking about? Very few places will let docs blocks a product release, and if product allows changes right up till release date, docs will always trail. I'm gonna say something that may be confusing right now, but as I said before, docs is an integral part of your product. Look at me, guys. You should not release a new version of your product if the docs is not up to date. Yeah, thank you, thank you. Oh, come on, that's, yeah. Every developer in the room like, fucker. Don't say that, don't say those things. No, that's true. And if you have a proper process, you're probably gonna have like a version that your team can do end-to-end testings, and like you're probably not supposed to release right away, which is gonna make times to the docs team to update whatever they have to update. Sometimes we can start to update while the engineering are building stuff. Most of the time we can. We need to be able to test. We need to be able to have the UI to take screenshots. We need to be able to use it to understand exactly what we need to write in the docs. So make it part of your product release, please. And it can be a team effort too. I know most people don't like to write docs. I'm one of the weirdest person on earth because I like it. And Carrie likes it too, so she's weird too. But we are weird people, we like that. But as a developer, as an engineer, when you build a product, you know what you change. You know what changed. Help us. Update the docs. And if you can, create an issue somewhere. So I'm gonna know what's happening, and I'm gonna be able to update the docs. And I'm gonna be able to talk to you if I have questions about like, hey, I'm not sure if I understand what we changed. Please help me. Like, I didn't build a product, so I need help. And that's gonna be a good way to do that. Write the docs, great resources. for everything docs. It's a conference, it's a website with a lot of resources, it's a GitHub repo with a lot of resources, it's a Slack community. It's the place to go if you want to have tips, advices about docs, if you want to learn more, if you want to be part of that community, if you want to find other tips and tricks. Great documentation example, Stripe, Twilio, GitHub. Oh, what's the fourth one? Kubefirst also, great example of the docs. They're really good when it comes to developer documentation or API documentation. They are usually the example that I send to people when they want to know, like, hey, how to write great documentation. They usually do pretty good, pretty good. I talk about the content. I'm going to go fast in the container because nothing I'm going to say right now should be like a big surprise, hopefully. Make it fast. Nobody likes to wait. And it's like that with your application, your website. And also, I think like Google and company like they penalize you SEO-wise if it's not loading fast. Nobody likes to wait when they need to check something in the docs. Make it responsive. Yes, I still have to say that in 2024. I don't check docs on my phone. Some people do. So make it accessible for them. Make it so they can read the docs on the device they want. With most platforms today, it's not complicated to do if you don't build it yourself. Make it collaborative, either with a tool that is easy for people to use, even make it open source. Even if your project is not open source, put your docs on GitHub. That will show your community you care about their feedback, and hopefully it's true. They're going to be able to create issues, even if it's not helping you with the docs. They want to say like, hey, that paragraph is unclear. Oh, that's missing that docs for that API endpoint. Some tools that you can use, README, a little less technical, quite easy to use. It's a SaaS offering. Docusaurus, which we use, is open source, backed by Facebook. A really great tool because it's run right out of the box, sorry. And you can also customize it quickly. Read the docs is also good. And basically, any static site generator, if you use Markdown, you're going to be good to go. So in the end, docs is really your superpower. As much as you hate writing docs, it is your superpower. Has a business, has an employee, has a developer, care about your documentation. I said a lot of things in 25 minutes, not as much as I wanted, but probably too much that you could take. Don't take everything with like, okay, I need to go home and like change everything, like what Fred said. Actually, it's a good thing though. You can do that. But also you can do like small step by small step. Try to update little things by little things. Just think about what I was saying, like when a customer asks me something and I cannot point them in the docs, that's a good start. Oh, I'm gonna add one sentence. It's gonna make something clearer. That's a good start. And your doc's gonna get better and better. So your developer documentation, they are a superpower. It's not fun to write for most of us, but when you do it, when you have great documentation, you will reap a lot of great benefits. So on that note, my name is Fred. This is one of my cats. You can see, beautiful. The guy too, though. Please feel free. You can connect with me by email, fred@construct.io, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. There's also fred.dev/MAA. If you want to ask questions, comment, review the talks that I gave today, please be brutally honest. I'm good with that. And I also offer free coffee chat. If you go on fred.dev/coffee, it's 30-minute video chat. We can talk about cloud native, we can talk about Kubernetes, we can talk about cats, we can talk obviously about developer documentation. I'm not going to do the job for you, but I'm going to be more than happy to share tips, give you advices, and just talk about life. So on that note, I think I have a minute left. So any comment, insult, question? You raise your hand and insult, so go ahead.
I'm worried that just adding like a random sentence somewhere to the docs might actually degrade the experience of reading them sometimes. So I follow with everything that you said, but just I know many cluttered docs, that don't really help because you don't find what you, how do you refactor docs?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. So obviously, yes, if you had text, you can make the docs worse. So you need to find the right balance between like, did I wrote enough stuff, or did I wrote like not enough or too much, and like now it's confusing. So there's a way for you also to separate the content. Like in my docs right now, what I have is that I talk to you about the principal things, And I still have FAQ for things that could be related to some of the pages, but that I feel like they're like making the docs a little bit harder to read with all those like, oh, warning this, or warning this, that, or if that happened, this is how you can fix it. Now, I moved that to another section. Some people may disagree, but this is how I try to keep it as clean as possible and still helpful for people. And on that note, I don't want to piss off Kai. He showed me the stop sign. So if you have any, I don't know if that answered the question. That was a really quick answer. If you have any other question, I'm going to be outside. Thanks for your time. Hope you are having a great Civo Navigate.